So for Ideas Worth Knowing, we're talking about Enlightenment Now, which is a book by Steven Pinker. So this book focuses on tracking the progress of humanity and how that's progressed from the Enlightenment era. So basically the end of the Dark Ages. And Steven Pinker, he's a Jewish psychologist from Canada. He's very left-wing to the point that it's actually somewhat irritating when he gets off subject, but he keeps his science really clean, so it's irrelevant as far as I'm concerned. Anyway, I think this is a fantastic book, and let's dig in. One of the big ideas from this book that's absolutely amazing, and feel free to get the book and read up on it, or just look it up elsewhere. Why not? Is war is becoming a thing of the past. So if you look at how many people die in war, how often there are wars, how many wars are ending, how many wars are starting, the amount of military conflict on Earth is going down steadily. Like all the wars, and like America's been at peace for a long time, Europe's been at peace for a long time, Asia, a lot of their civil wars that like the southern area are going away, concluding. Even Africa is having less wars. Like South America is mostly at peace. It's like, with the exception of the Middle East, which is, and he points this out, I think from 2016 to 2006, there are 10 new wars that started, and 7 of them were from Islam. So Islam is basically lagging in the world of progress. So they need to get with it, or at least, I don't know, adopt some, Enlightenment ideals would probably do them world of good. If they just had some open conversations, they could probably address their issues and improve. If you count world peace and safety as worth pursuing. Following through, so we got food is becoming way more common. Famine's going away. It's basically wherever the Enlightenment flows forward, there's just more food to go around. Progress in farming, less war. Enlightenment ideals lead to stable governments, and basically people can make decisions for themselves, which usually involves them having enough to eat, because that's like really fundamental. And if you look at it, it's like the number of like starving people in the world, the number of like unbelievably poor people, which are basically those who are likely to suffer from famine, is going to about zero. Almost all famines in like the past like 50 years or so have been self-inflicted or human-induced. It's like there's the ability to prevent famine absolutely existed, but due to leadership choices, famine occurred anyway, and that's pretty interesting. Like that's a big takeaway for me. It's like, oh, okay, so we don't have to starve. There's plenty of food to go around. There's not a shortage. The population increase is not causing any real harm in the way of like we're going to run out of food at all, like not even in the slightest. And a lot of that has to do with, he talks about like GMOs, where there's no evidence to show that GMOs are causing harm. It's like just people are really concerned about it. It's like the anti-vaxxer kind of thing, where it's like, oh, that sounds like a bad idea. Maybe we shouldn't do it. It's a lot of sciencey stuff. And it's like, oh, no, the GMOs are like, now we have like heat-resistant like pumpkins, so you could grow them in the desert. So they could have pumpkin now. Where before it was just worthless land or crops that wouldn't produce much, and now we can get around that. So that's a huge improvement. Like another area that Enlightenment Now talks about is like, follows through with like medicine and health, and like, well, how is humanity doing with the Enlightenment is taking place? And the long story short is people living a lot longer, and there's a lot less disease, and children are surviving. And everywhere where there's more people, things are getting better, and medicine is a huge part of that. It's like child mortality is going way down. Like Africa is like the slowest developing continent, and even there, they're at like 1950s Europe for mortality rates for infants now. So they're coming right along, and also their GDP is going up and a whole bunch of other things, which isn't really touched on the book. So it's worth noting that Africa is doing a hell of a lot better. Like I think the average citizen has like $7,000 a year now for income, which is quite a lot, considering like how much money you need not to starve to death and things like that. So lots of improvement there. That means people can get like, give it like 50 cents to like their neighbor, and the community could have a cell phone, or they could have a couple taxis, or like they could have some medical services. Like that brings you to like refrigeration here and there, and like, so there's a world of good going on there, and it starts with more people, because when you have people, then you have specialists, and then you have wealth, and yeah. So the medicine has been improving, and we got more people, and that's fantastic. And another great thing is that the amount of free time is increasing. So this book tracks, what people do with their days off, how many days off they have, like how much time they spend pursuing their own things. And the results that is basically that men have always had more free time, but it's not like a lot of free time. It's like a little bit more free time. Women basically spend more time in the home, where when men are not working, they tend to be doing something recreational. But that's only a few hours. It's not like men had Saturday and Sunday off in the Stone Age, and women, fuck them, they could just be slaves. It wasn't that way. It was like, like in the industrial era, like men had 10 hours off a week and women had 6. And now it's, like 30 and 27. So, and that's because basically there's more technology, there's more wealth, there's more rights, which is, part of having wealth and things like that. So it's like, since we got people, we got specialists, we have all this tech, there's all this availability going on. You don't need to work every single minute of your life to make sure you don't starve to death and that the minimum number of your kids die. Your kids are probably going to live. Things will be all right. And the great benefit is how much free time people have. And this is phenomenal. Yeah, so my favorite quote involving free time involves there's a British noblewoman who was complaining that since they've got factories available, that you can't get servants anymore without giving them Sunday afternoon off. So it's like, what are peasants trying to do? Pick a person's pocket? Sunday afternoon off. Really? Like, what are they doing with their lives? Yeah, so considering how jarring that quote is, it's like, things have gotten a lot better, because that was, like Ebenezer Scrooge wasn't really that unusual for the industrial era. Like, that's kind of a normal thing to say. Fantastic. All right, so the big takeaway after I got to this book was basically life is going pretty well as you could honestly hope for. Things keep getting better at a steady rate. This book did a world of good for me, so now whenever I see people that are super negative or whatever, I pretty much just start tuning them out, because the full discussion on how much better things are getting and how they continue to get better and how often negative people are basically wrong. It's like, okay, maybe this little group right here has some problems. However, most people improve in most ways over time. So there's more or less everyone's getting a hell of a lot better, but some groups might get a little bit better faster than others at different places at different times. But in general, it's extremely positive. And so, I could barely listen to half the news anymore, just because so much of it is Chicken Little, afraid of the world, just terrified, oh my God, one factory closed, what are we going to do? It's like, well, they opened 10 more. Unemployment's 3%. It'll probably be all right. Seriously. It's like, I don't know, full-time Uber, for the next month, you get a new job, or 3 months, whatever. I mean, you're still going to make a decent amount of money. Uber pays okay. It's not going to be great. I'm not going to be, bragging to people, but, you'll be fine. Just figure it out. And then, on top of that, it's another big takeaway is the more people you have, the better things get. Wherever you have a lot of people, things get better. When you have tons and tons of people, things are better. It's just think about any place there's high population density, and there's got to be a lot of wealth, a lot of jobs, a lot of variety, a lot of things that make life comfortable. And then pick some place where you can think of where there's almost nobody, and it's probably not where you want to be in general, ever. I don't know, maybe it's a weekend vacation to show that you're still in touch with your primal man, but, you're not going to live there. So, yeah, people make the world great. We need more of them, and there doesn't seem to be a shortage. Whenever we get more and more people together, they figure out more efficient, cheaper, better ways to do things. I think of examples like television. The old TVs were huge, heavy, and used rare materials. Then those rare materials started to be controlled, and a monopoly started to occur, and then they just found another way to make pictures with common materials that are found everywhere on Earth, and now we have flat screens. So it's like, yeah, things are getting expensive, but luckily we had a lot of people, and things got solved. So the short story is, you need some geniuses. You need your Elon Musk, basically, and a ton of unsung heroes in the world who have made their contribution. You just need a few people who are rock stars, and the rest of us just get windfall profit to the day we die. But you don't get more geniuses without a ton of normal folk and some idiots. Maybe a lot of idiots. But the geniuses are what matter. Alright, so you can find this book on Amazon Audibles. I'm always driving, so I picked it up on Audibles. It was enjoyable. I'm sure you could buy the physical book. That's fine if you're that kind of guy. Or if you want to really analyze it, like, challenge it, make notes, find sections, pull out the references. The physical book will be necessary for that. Steven Pinker does a lot of interviews. If you just want a conversational, short, discussion, Steven Pinker is all over YouTube. What else? Humanprogress.org. I have to mention that. So humanprogress.org is a website that is only humanity conquering problems. It's like the best thing since sliced bread. It's like, hey, did you know the amount of plant life on Earth has increased by an entire Amazon rainforest in the past 15 years or whatever? It's phenomenal. Or oh, look, there's new ways to find this disease. There's a new treatment for that. Oh, look, there's some cheap way to solve these issues in developing countries. Now they're not as terrible. Just something wasn't obvious, and now it's known. And humanprogress.org will just fill your soul with hope, knowledge of excellence, and you got to check out humanprogress.org and kind of tune out of the news cycle a little bit and pick up humanity just crushing it and making things better. Like and subscribe. Next time I'll be going over Carl Jung's Reflections, Dreams, and Memories. We're going to learn about mysticism and your subconscious. What you feel might be real.